What's going on, everybody? It's Profane Hurricane back here again with more What Remains of Edith Finch. And last time we left off, we had made it into
Lewis's room smelled very familiar. That part of him lived on.
And Lewis obviously enjoys beer and weed and blacklight, which, I mean, can you blame him? Who is Dawn Finch?
Dear Mrs. Finch, as Lewis's psychiatrist, I can understand your desire for an explanation. As I see it, the trouble began in January, shortly after we convinced your son to seek treatment for substance abuse. Newly sober, I believe Lewis first noticed the monotony of his daily life.
I'm controlling this,
he
by
kept
the way.
working at the kennel.
Chopping fish's heads off. The old
But he
fish
withdrew part of himself.
factory.
In our sessions, I saw the same behavior. His mind began to wander.
Oh. I'm controlling
I
this
asked him
as
to
well.
describe it. He said he started small,
Trying to do two things at
imagining a
once.
labyrinth. He'd feel his way about. Then something moved. Bats
Bats.
and toads.
Whoops.
And things that have not names.
Let's get over there. I'm more interested in this maze. I don't care about gutting your fish or chopping their heads off or whatever. I gotta get out of here.
He knew it was all in his head. But he took it very
this is awesome.
seriously. I had hoped he'd find himself. But he found something more. I worried about him then,
Holy shit.
daydreaming at the cannery.
Yeah, he's gonna
I spoke with his
cut
boss.
his fucking hand off.
But he said Lewis had become a model employee. Methodical, tireless, focused,
Left brain, right brain and shit.
like a whole new Lewis. So I let him go on. I even encouraged him.
Getting bigger.
It seemed very promising at first.
Is that a dog?
He told me
dog.
he'd made a new friend.
Doggo.
On the edge of a city he named Lewis Topia.
Lewistopia.
He built the city up slowly, brick by brick. Then he made musicians.
I love this. I love this fucking game. It's awesome.
And songs for them to play. He talked about starting a band. And he was always humming something.
Full disclosure, I'm not paying any attention to the fish thing
Every day
anymore.
his imagination grew stronger.
Just paying attention to all this crazy shit that's happening. I love
He
it.
no longer spoke at the cannery. But his chopping was as reliable as ever.
Yeah, it was.
Then one day it struck him that all the cheering crowds, even the stones under his feet, were all in his imagination. So he could do whatever he wished.
He could be king. King of the fish cannery
He held an election for mayor.
realm.
And he won.
Of course he won. His imagination.
They begged him to stay, but his mind was already wandering. It became a game for him.
Oh, look at it. That's fucking awesome.
He'd conquer a city, then immediately push on. New Louisville. St. Louis.
St. Louis.
He started drifting away from our reality.
Oh shit. Don't
Minneapolis.
hit things.
Until one day he forgot to go home from the cannery.
Uh-oh.
Even as his mother pleaded with him, part of Louis kept sailing on.
Yeah, let me get back to my fucking world. Jace. I don't care about your fish cannery bullshit.
In Louisburg, he heard rumors of a
Handsome queen.
handsome queen.
I appreciate that you allowed me the choice of my sexuality.
The queen was on her own quest for
A sinister serpent.
sinister serpents.
Fine, you can get whatever you need off the table. Fine. Not bothering anything. Yeah, let's take down the sinister serpent for our queen.
He followed the sound of her
Her silver harp. She could have
Silver
a banging
harp.
guitar, but you know. It's fucking awesome. Love it.
His chase led him to a golden palace east of the sun and west of the moon. Even then, his logic remained sound. He knew the world was all in his imagination.
Oh shit. Shit's getting serious now. We're getting backlogged. Fish,
He
get
was
out
so
of my way.
proud of having created it. In his own eyes, he'd become something greater than a king. For someone who'd never known success in the real world, I think it was overwhelming. And then it struck him that the real Louis was not the one chopping salmon, but the one climbing the steps of a golden palace.
Dude, reality's whatever you make it, man. You don't want to chop fish's heads off for a living? Be your fucking best king that you can be.
My imagination is as real as my body, he told me.
Go for it.
It was hard to argue with him.
Oh. Boo. Real world blows, man. Got Imperial Palace. He's got like incense and a video game.
Began to forget the world we know. I think it pained him to remember Louis, the cannery worker. He began to despise the man with a royal contempt.
Should kill him. What are you doing?
I still thought I could save him. even after he said he was being crowned king over all the lands of wonder.
Where does this go?
The palace
Probably
would be
not what's on the
with
other
his
side of that
companions.
window.
Including the wise Calico who'd insisted on inviting him. His queen waited, holding his crown.
The queen. That is a guillotine.
There was only one thing left to do.
This is not okay. That's a big old guillotine.
Bend down his head.
Right. But why though?
And the rest I think you know. Mrs. Finch, your son was a kind man who will be missed by all of us who knew him.
My brother was really cool. I wish you could have met him.
I don't understand. I mean, I understand why, like, he died or whatever, but why, if he was gonna kill the real Lewis, why did he fantasize about
On the
the
way back from Lewis's funeral,
King Lewis
my
dying?
mom told me to start packing. She waited until the day before we left to tell Edie. I'm not sure if she wanted to make it easier or harder. I wish we'd stayed.
What was that? Oh, packing peanuts.
But I understand why we left. My mom ended up leaving everything behind.
To teach, to learn, Dawn Finch.
What happened that night had been coming for a long time. Maybe it should have come sooner. But it had to end one way or another. All that's left now is to tell you about that last night. That whole last day, Edie just watched us pack.
Who starts writing in the middle of a page like that?
Until supper, when she raised her glass and said,
"To our final night together, and all our final nights apart."
Grandma, you know what I said about alcohol. Some of your medications are very
Edith,
specific.
I left a present for you in the hallway. Why don't you go open it? The grown-ups have to argue now.
I'm sorry, you're right. We're all leaving tomorrow. Let's just enjoy our last...
I'm not leaving.
Edith, you're excused.
A present for me in the hallway.
the power had been shut off that morning, but Edie always had plenty of candles. When my mom sealed the library, I don't think she knew about the other entrance. Or that Edie had a key to it.
That thing you're you're afraid of isn't going to end when you leave the house. Edith has a right to know these stories.
My children are dead because of your stories. I think it's best if Edith and I leave tonight. We'll have the nursing home send a van for you in the morning.
Jeez.
Okay. Dear Edith, there's so many stories I wish I could tell you, but there's only time for one. This is about what happened on the night you were born. That night, the tide went way, way out. It was the first and last time I ever saw the old house aground. There'd been an earthquake out in the middle of the ocean. They called it the lowest tide in 1,000 years. God, it smelled awful. You know, I've seen that house every day of my life. But I never thought I'd go back to it. When the fog rolled in, I lost my way.
Just going straight.
I got turned around.
Uh-oh. I have to fight Rom the vacuous spider.
For a while, I wandered. I started seeing things. Things I'd forgotten had ever existed. But when I saw them, they felt like old friends. That night, a lot of things came back to me. Or maybe I came back to them. Things I can't explain, but that I need you to try and...
Edith, what are you doing in here?
It's mine.
Edith!
Mom, you're gonna rip it! Let go! I kicked and screamed, but
Bitch.
Mom dragged me to the car.
Your mom's a bitch.
I never saw Great Grandma Edie again. The next morning, the van came to pick her up, but she was already gone. After that, we moved around a lot. We both tried to make the best of it.
I'm doing that. Just to give me something to do.
A few years went by. My mom didn't like to talk about it. But she started getting sick a lot. The rest happened pretty quickly. She got better for a while, and then she didn't. And then I was alone. The last Finch left alive. Until I found out about you. I'm still not sure what to tell you about all this. If we lived forever, maybe we'd have time to understand things. But as it is, I think the best we can do is try to open our eyes. And appreciate how strange and brief all of this is. This journal was supposed to be for you. But now I hope you'll never see it.
So this is her
I just want to
child
meet
being
you
born.
and tell you all these stories myself. But I guess if you're reading this now, things didn't work out that way. This is where your story begins. I'm sorry I won't be there to see it. It's a lot to ask, but I don't want you to be sad that I'm gone. I want you to be amazed that any of us ever had a chance to be here at all. Good luck.
Wow, that was fucking great. That was magnificent. There's always that argument for games being art, and it's open to interpretation as to what art is, obviously. So, you know, having something that's just beautiful graphics or you know, game changing, if you look at something like a Heavy Rain or any of the Quantic Dream games where they do the motion capture and, you know, realistic faces and things, you know, there's an argument to be made for those being art. But something like this is just so fucking beautiful and heartbreaking. It's such a sad story and such a compelling story, you know, like I found myself wanting to know more about this family, more about the, you know, the history of them and what ended up happening to them. And knowing that, you know, they're all dead doesn't diminish that. Like, you want to know everything that you can about them. You want to know, you know, where they came from, like their entire family history. And that final gut punch of Edith died, I assume, in childbirth is just kind of the icing on the cake of this family, for whatever reason, was cursed, for lack of a better word, to have everyone die. And it happens like that sometimes. It's not necessarily a curse, it's just that they're, for whatever reason, they're not, they weren't designed as a family to exist. You know, it's kind of like the Kennedys. You know, you have this prominent family in America that is just tragedy after tragedy of people being, you know, killed and dying too soon. And yeah, it doesn't take anything away from the beauty of this game, though. I mean, just as a thing that exists, the story unfolding the way it did, and I'm a huge fan of the untraditional narrative where you have different ways of portraying each person's story. So like you have the taking pictures thing for the father and daughter on the hunt. You have the baby in the tub. You know, you have the comic book for the one daughter. Just all of it is so fucking cool. The little girl, you know, imagining that she's other animals, or that she's animals in the world, and then culminating in her being the monster that she believes ends up getting her. Yeah, just the whole all around, from top to bottom, this game is just very, very impressive. And I would love for there to be more of it. I would love for there to be so much more of it because it's such a beautiful story. But yeah, amazingly done. Just so good. So all of those people that we saw in the credits, they did a fantastic job. And yeah, just this game was fucking gorgeous and super, super enjoyable to play. Very heavy, very bummer near the end there, obviously, but yeah, I liked it a ton. I love it. It's beautiful, and it's definitely art. It speaks to more than just the medium, so it accomplishes something beyond just being a game to play. And even if you watch this, I recommend you checking it out. You know, play it because it's, you know, pay the money for it. You know, it's an indie developer, and they did a fantastic job. And you know, reward that effort with your dollars, and hopefully show that more things like this should be made in the future. Because yeah, I'm down for anything that comes even remotely close to carrying such weight as this story did. So anyway, that's gonna do it for this one. I don't know what we're gonna do next, but it's gonna be hard to top this in my mind. So thank you so much for joining me, everybody. Stay safe, take care, hug your family members, hug your friends, hug your pets, whatever, because life's short. So, but thanks everybody. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.